Did you know that almost 48 million folks in America fall ill each year due to foodborne illnesses? Sadly, over 3,000 of them lose their lives, with many being seniors. The CDC tells us that older adults face a greater risk since their immune systems aren't quite as robust as they used to be. It's quite alarming to think that a lot of these illnesses can actually begin in our very own fridge. Believe it or not, that trusty refrigerator of yours, the one you count on to keep your food fresh and safe, might be quietly transforming some of your everyday staples into potential health risks. It turns out that recent studies have revealed something quite surprising. If you don't store certain foods correctly in the refrigerator, you might be putting yourself at risk for food poisoning, losing valuable nutrients, and even causing some harmful chemical reactions. Isn't that interesting? And you know what the toughest part is? Many folks just don't realize. If you've been tossing some fruits, veggies, or pantry staples into the fridge without a second thought, you might be in for a bit of a surprise. The top food on this list is quite surprising, to say the least. When it gets chilled, it not only loses its nutritional goodness, but can also start to form some harmful compounds. So stick around until the very end, because what you discover here might just save your health or even your life. Hey there! Before we dive in, I'd be super grateful if you could give this video a thumbs up. Thanks a bunch. I'd love for you to join me in sharing these timeless lessons with others. If you haven't subscribed yet, I warmly invite you to click that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our videos. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to drop a comment with the number 1. And if it wasn't quite your cup of tea, feel free to share a 0 so I can make my future videos even better. All right, let's dive in and get this party started. Here, we are at number 9. Once upon a time, there were these delightful little tubers called potatoes. Let's kick things off with a beloved kitchen essential that many of us pop right into the fridge without a second thought. Once upon a time, in a cozy little kitchen, there were some humble potatoes. These versatile gems were just waiting to be transformed into something delicious. But let me share a surprising little secret with you. Did you know that putting potatoes in the fridge can actually make them unsafe to eat? It's a little surprising, isn't it? When you keep raw potatoes in chilly temperatures, a little trickery occurs within their cells. The starch in the potato starts turning into sugar quicker than expected. It may not seem like much at first, but let me tell you, this is where the story takes a chilling twist. When you cook or bake those refrigerated potatoes later on, especially at high temperatures, the sugars in them can mix with amino acids to create acrylamide. This chemical compound has been associated with cancer in animal studies and is currently being looked into for its effects on humans. But wait, there's more to the story. When you store potatoes in the fridge, their texture can take a turn for the worse. They might become grainy, mushy, and even darken a bit, which signals oxidation and a loss of nutrients. Rather than being the warm, satisfying dish we all adore, refrigerated potatoes can become a mushy, sweet concoction that might be harmful when cooked. Have you ever found yourself puzzled by why your roasted potatoes tasted a bit too sweet, or why they didn't have that perfect texture? Well, it might just be your fridge playing tricks on you. To keep your potatoes in tip-top shape, find a cool, dark and dry spot for them. Just remember, they don't like it cold and damp. This keeps them nice and firm, bursting with flavor, and perfectly safe to enjoy. If you have a bag of potatoes hanging out in the refrigerator, it's time to give them a little attention before they turn into a sneaky health hazard at dinner time. 8. Bread. Oh, what a delightful staple. It's the kind of food that brings people together, whether it's a warm loaf fresh out of the oven or a simple slice to accompany a meal. Each bite tells a story, from the crusty exterior to the soft, fluffy inside. It's more than just food, it's comfort, tradition, and a little bit of magic in every crumb. Let's chat about bread, that warm and comforting staple that so many seniors love to have around. It might surprise you to learn that stashing your loaf of bread in the fridge isn't the best way to keep it fresh. In fact, it's one of the worst things you can do. The science behind it is known as retrogradation, which is a fancy term for when the starch molecules in bread begin to crystallize when they're chilled. This won't take long at all. It begins to unfold right away. What does that mean for you, my friend? Leaving your soft, fluffy bread out at room temperature will keep it fresher for longer than if you store it in the fridge, where it tends to go stale much quicker. You got it. Your bread just doesn't stay fresh in the fridge. It makes things go stale faster. Even if the difference isn't obvious at first glance, your taste buds will surely notice it. The texture turns tough, dry, and crumbly, which makes toasting a bit of a hassle, and sandwiches not quite as delightful. But let me tell you, it takes a turn for the worse from here. When bread gets a bit dry in the fridge, it can turn into a cozy spot for mold as soon as you take it out. Mold spores really enjoy the damp, uneven moisture that tends to form when we refrigerate and reheat our food. Moldy bread isn't just unappetizing, it might pose some risks. Some molds create mycotoxins, which are harmful substances that can lead to serious health problems when consumed, particularly in older adults whose immune systems may not be as strong. If you're looking to keep your bread fresh for longer, freezing it is a fantastic choice. The freezer puts a stop to mold and staleness while keeping that delightful texture intact. Simply slice it ahead of time and thaw it out whenever you need it. But that fridge, though, it's a spot you definitely want to avoid for your daily bread. Store your bread in a bread box or a sealed container at room temperature for a few days. And if you have more than that, just pop it in the freezer. Don't let the cold take away the joy of your bread and your well-being. If you're still hanging out and finding this info helpful, go ahead and drop an 8 in the comments so I know you're with me. 7 it is. Once upon a time, in a garden filled with vibrant colors, there grew a humble onion. This little bulb with its layers of mystery had stories to tell and flavors to share. Each time someone peeled back its skin, a new adventure unfolded, bringing tears of joy and laughter to the kitchen. Oh, the magic of onions! It may come as a surprise to find onions on this list, but putting them in the fridge is a common blunder that can cause some unexpected issues. Onions come with a handy, papery skin that acts like a little shield, keeping moisture at bay while preserving their delightful flavor and crispness. But when you pop those onions into the fridge, it really messes with that delicate balance. Inside your fridge, the chilly, damp air makes onions soak up moisture faster, particularly after they've been sliced open. This can result in a soft texture, an unappealing taste, and in some instances, the unwelcome appearance of mold. But there's an even bigger concern here: odor transfer. Onions have a strong smell, and when you put them in the fridge, they let out sulfur compounds. These compounds can make the onions spoil faster and might even mix with other foods stored close by. Have you ever noticed that your butter or fruit has a strange onion-like flavor? It's not just your imagination. The fridge is soaking up all those volatile compounds like a sponge. There's another sneaky risk out there: bacterial contamination. An onion that's been sliced and tucked away in the fridge, even if it's wrapped up, can turn into a little haven for bacteria. There are some food myths out there that say onions can soak up toxins, but that's not really backed by science. However, it is important to note that if onions aren't stored properly, especially in damp conditions, they can attract some harmful microbes. Whole onions thrive best when stored in a dry, dark, and well-ventilated spot, such as a cozy pantry. When it comes to cut onions, it's best to store them in the fridge only if they're sealed tightly and used quickly, ideally within a day or two. Whole onions, on the other hand, prefer to stay cool and cozy outside the fridge. That's a sure way to end up with spoiled food, lost nutrients, and a fridge that surprises you with an unwelcome onion aroma. Here we are at number 6. Once upon a time, there were these delightful little tomatoes. Tomatoes are often one of the most misunderstood foods when it comes to being stored in the fridge. Many folks believe that stashing tomatoes in the fridge helps them stay fresh for a longer time. But the reality is that cold temperatures can really ruin their taste and texture. Did you know that tomatoes are actually tropical fruits? They really don't like the cold at all. Putting a tomato in the refrigerator can really throw a wrench in its natural ripening process. The cold air interferes with its enzymes, stopping them in their tracks. The magic of ripening is where the tomato really develops its delightful flavor. Without it, you end up with a fruit that's just watery, bland and mealy, tasting like it's missing all the good stuff. And we can't overlook the texture, can we? When you stash tomatoes in the fridge, they tend to lose their nice firmness and end up becoming a soft, rubbery mess. The delightful crunch and juicy explosion you look forward to in a fresh tomato just isn't there anymore. What's really worrying is how this impacts our nutrients. Tomatoes pack a punch when it comes to vitamin C, but here's the catch: that vitamin doesn't hold up well in cold storage. So when you keep them chilled, you're not just losing out on flavor, but also on some of those health perks. Even the skin can start to wrinkle and shrivel when it's kept too cold for too long, making them look old and unappetizing, even if they're still quite fresh. Have you ever cut into a tomato only to discover it's watery or lacking in flavor? Well, there's a good chance it was kept in the chill of the fridge. To keep your tomatoes fresh and tasty, store them at room temperature, out of direct sunlight, and place them stem side down to help retain their moisture. If they're overripe, it's best to use them right away or whip them up in a dish. Don't just throw them in the fridge, thinking you're doing a good thing. In truth, you're only speeding up their decline. If you're still tuning in and finding this info helpful, go ahead and drop a 6 in the comments so I can see you're with me. Here we are at number 5. Garlic is often celebrated as a superfood, brimming with sulfur compounds such as allicin that boost immune health and can even assist in lowering blood pressure. However, all these amazing health benefits can vanish in an instant, or even worse, become harmful if you decide to store garlic in the fridge. Whole bulbs of garlic are meant to stick around for weeks or even months when stored at room temperature, particularly if you keep them in a dry, cool, and well-ventilated spot. However, when you put them in the fridge, the moisture and chilly air can interfere with how garlic naturally keeps fresh. The cloves start to sprout a bit too early, which not only alters their flavor, but also hints at a shift in their chemical composition. That sharp, flavorful kick transforms into a bitter and rubbery experience. What's even more surprising is that sprouted garlic tends to lose a good bit of its allicin, the key compound that gives it those wonderful health benefits. But let me tell you, this is the part that really sends a chill down your spine. When it comes to refrigerated garlic, particularly if it's chopped or minced and kept in oil, there's a little caution to keep in mind. It can turn into a cozy spot for Clostridium botulinum, the bacteria responsible for botulism. This uncommon yet very serious illness can result in paralysis, and if not addressed quickly, could even be fatal. Many folks might not realize the risks involved, but the FDA has raised concerns about the practice of storing garlic in oil without proper acidification or refrigeration. It's a warning worth heeding. Rather than putting your garlic in the fridge, try storing the whole bulb in a mesh bag or basket right in your pantry. When it comes to storing chopped garlic, it's best to use it soon and keep it in a vinegar or lemon juice base to help minimize any bacterial concerns. But be careful not to let the fridge diminish garlic's magic or sneak in any unexpected surprises into your dishes. 4th on the list: coffee. Yes, you heard that right. coffee is on this list, and there's a really good reason for it. Coffee beans and grounds are quite delicate when it comes to moisture, odors, and light. When you pop them in the refrigerator, you might believe you're preserving their freshness, but in reality, you're setting them up for a quick decline. Coffee has a unique ability to soak up moisture and scents from its surroundings, much like a sponge does. In the cozy confines of your fridge, nestled among the vibrant fruits, fresh vegetables, and a few leftover treasures, the coffee begins to soak up all those delightful aromas and flavors. This really takes away the special flavor of your beans, resulting in a brew that ends up tasting flat, bitter, or just a bit off. But it's more than just the taste. Moisture is truly the villain in this story. When coffee meets the chilly air and moisture of the fridge, little droplets of condensation appear on the surface of the beans or grounds each time the door swings open and shut. This can cause clumping, lead to premature staling, and break down the essential oils that provide coffee with its delightful aroma and health benefits, such as chlorogenic acids. These acids act as antioxidants that help support heart health, but they tend to break down more quickly in cold, damp conditions. As time goes by, refrigerated coffee not only loses its lively flavor, but also misses out on some of those health benefits it once had. Additionally, if you keep damp coffee grounds in a container that isn't airtight, they can start to grow mold. For the best way to keep your coffee fresh, try storing it in an opaque, airtight container at room temperature, tucked away in a dark cabinet instead of the fridge. This keeps everything fresh, tasty, and secure. Third on the list, sweetheart. Well, this one just might catch you off guard. It's sweet, thick, and golden, just the kind of thing that feels right at home anywhere, even in the fridge. Storing honey in the refrigerator is really not a good idea at all. Actually, putting honey in the fridge doesn't just mess with its texture. It turns the natural preservation process on its head, which is what makes honey one of those rare foods that can last forever without spoiling. When you pop honey into the fridge, the chilly air makes it crystallize pretty quickly. That means it gets grainy, tough, and nearly impossible to scoop or spread. You might be thinking, oh, that's just a little change in texture, isn't it? Not exactly. The crystallization process can catch little air pockets, which can bring moisture into the container every time it's opened and closed again. Moisture is the nemesis of honey. Sometimes, fermentation can sneak in and turn your honey into something with a sour taste and smell that's not so pleasant. To make matters worse, that moisture invites microbial growth, something honey typically fends off due to its low water content and high acidity. But if it's not stored just right, those natural defenses can take a hit. The chill in the air also takes its time with the natural enzymes in honey, which play a big role in giving it those wonderful antibacterial qualities. Absolutely. Keeping honey in the fridge can actually reduce its health benefits as time goes on. If you want to keep your honey in tip-top shape, the best spot is in a tightly sealed jar, tucked away in a pantry or cupboard, far from sunlight and any extreme heat. In that way, it maintains its smooth texture, natural flavor, and all the healing properties that have made it a trusted remedy through the ages. Next up, we have bananas. Bananas hold a special place in the hearts of many, particularly among seniors who appreciate their rich potassium content and gentle digestibility. Refrigerating bananas is a surefire way to ruin all the wonderful things that make them special. Bananas are delightful tropical fruits, perfectly designed by nature to thrive in warm, sunny climates. When you pop them in the fridge, especially before they're fully ripe, the cold really puts the brakes on the enzymes that help them ripen. That means your bananas might not ripen just right at all. They'll remain tough, have a rather plain flavor, and the most disappointing part is that their skin will soon lose its vibrant color, turning a dull gray or black. This discoloration isn't just a bit off-putting. It's actually a telltale sign that cold injury has taken place. Underneath that darkened skin, the banana can sometimes get a bit mushy in odd spots and take on a strange metallic taste. However, aside from how they taste and look, keeping bananas in the fridge can actually harm the natural antioxidants they contain. These include dopamine and catechins, which play a key role in supporting brain health and helping to reduce oxidative stress in our aging cells. For seniors, those compounds are really important, and putting bananas in the fridge can take them away without anyone even realizing it. To make matters worse, if you toss an overripe banana into the fridge, the moisture that gathers inside the peel can turn it into a cozy spot for mold to grow, particularly around the stem. By trying to extend the shelf life, you might just be inviting mold to the party. To keep your bananas in tip-top shape, it's best to store them at room temperature. Hanging them up or placing them in a fruit bowl where the air can flow around them works wonders. If you find yourself with an abundance of ripe bananas, just peel them and pop them in a container to freeze. They'll be perfect for smoothies or baking whenever you're ready to use them later on. But please don't put them in the fridge, thinking they'll stay fresh longer. You'll find yourself with fruit that's lost its nutrients, its texture, and its very reason for being. If you're still hanging out and finding this info helpful, drop a 2 in the comments so I can see you're with me. The end. Olive oil, often considered a kitchen essential, is one food that should never be refrigerated, particularly for seniors. It's cherished for its heart-healthy benefits and its ability to enhance a variety of dishes. When you pop olive oil into the fridge, something interesting happens. It goes through a little transformation known as solidification. During this process, the fatty acids start to crystallize, which makes the oil look cloudy and a bit chunky. Even though this physical change isn't necessarily dangerous, the constant back and forth of temperature from moving the oil in and out of the refrigerator can lead to some significant health issues that many seniors might not be aware of. Every time olive oil shifts from a chilly to a warm environment, it experiences a bit of stress in its chemical structure. This can speed up oxidation, which might lead to the formation of harmful free radicals and reduce the oil's wonderful antioxidant benefits. These oxidative changes can turn heart-healthy oil into something that contains compounds which might actually encourage inflammation, which is the last thing seniors need. It's a bit worrisome to think about studies suggesting that oils stressed by high temperatures might lead to more joint inflammation and digestive issues, especially since these are already common problems for many older adults. When the oil solidifies, it becomes tricky to pour, raising the chances of spills or using too much, which can lead to extra calories in seniors' diets. Aside from health worries, the taste really takes a hit, as chilled olive oil loses those delightful fruity and peppery flavors that make it such a joy to include in Mediterranean-style diets, which are often suggested for heart health. Instead, keep your olive oil in a dark glass bottle or a metal container, tucked away in a cool cabinet, far from any heat sources like the stove. When stored correctly, top-notch olive oil can keep its delightful flavor and health benefits for as long as 2 years after it's been bottled. Well, let me share with you the 9 foods that really don't belong in the fridge. Begin by rearranging your kitchen according to the different types of food. Make sure to keep tropical fruits like bananas and avocados outside the fridge until they reach that perfect ripeness. Keep your potatoes and onions in a cool, dark spot, avoiding those chilly, damp areas. Bread is best kept at room temperature or tucked away in the freezer, but it's a no-go for the fridge. Your honey should find a cozy spot in the pantry, while your coffee prefers to be tucked away in an airtight container, resting in a dark cupboard. Garlic and tomatoes. What a delightful combination! Embrace them as the incredible, potent elements they truly are. Keep them safe and sound to maintain their delicious taste and health perks. We're all ears and can't wait to hear what you have to say. Have you been keeping any of these foods in the fridge without knowing the potential risks? What changes are you planning to make starting right now? We'd love to hear your stories and thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. We absolutely enjoy listening to them. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch.